Welcome back to Stone Watch Mandalorian Review. Today we're going to be doing a review of Chapter 7, The Reckoning, the new episode that dropped on Disney Plus on Wednesday morning. Now, without getting into heavy spoilers right off the bat, this episode is written by Jon Favreau. It's directed by Deborah, the same director that handled the awesome Chapter 3. Now, the runtime is 40 minutes on this one. Now, if you subtract the credits, it's a little less than that. So probably like around maybe 37, 38 minutes if you take away the credits, maybe. You got Pedro Pascal coming back as the Mandalorian. We have Carl Weathers coming back as Greef Karga. We have Winter Herzog coming back as the client. Now, this Gina Carano coming back as Cara Dune. Now, if you have not watched Chapter 7, The Reckoning for The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, go watch it, come back, because the next two castings and stuff like that it's a little bit of a spoiler for the episode and what have you. So at least I thought it was. But so if you have not watched, go watch it. It's a short episode. Come back and we get a big, huge, long discussion of what we just watched. All right? You've been warned. Okay, now coming back, we have Taika Waititi as IG-11. That's right. Taika Waititi as IG-11. That is just totally awesome that he's back. I'll have more on that in a few minutes. And also we have Nick Nolte coming back as Kuill. That's pretty damn cool. I like that character. And also here's like the really big one. Again, spoilers if you have not watched this episode. We have Giancarlo Esposito coming as Moff Gideon. Now, I've been waiting for this character because I've been wanting to know what this guy is all about, and I will have more about that in just a minute. So, again, now, if you have not watched Chapter 7 of The Reckoning, just go watch it, come back, and then big discussion. I mean, I just don't want to spoil it for anybody. I mean, I really like this episode. I don't even watch the previews when I go to watch every episode. I automatically just skip right through and start it right up. I don't watch the previews, and I just right into it. So, when episode 8 or chapter 8 drops next Friday and what have you, I'm going to do a big, huge, massive rewatch of all 8 chapters in a row because they're all roughly about half hour, 40 minutes apiece. So it's going to be about 4 hours or so of a Star Wars movie as far as I'm concerned. So I'm looking forward to that. So with that being said, here we go. Also, the guest star or the cameo appearance for this week, we've got the 501st Legion stepping in. Now, there was a story, or I can't remember how it came about. I think it was either D23 or Celebration and what have you. Filoni was telling a story about how like they were filming an episode, probably this one, and they needed more stormtroopers and didn't have enough extras. And somebody goes, "Oh man, what are we gonna do?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. I know people." So he made a few phone calls, and there you go, boom. There's a lot of them. I can't really tell you exactly how many there were, but there was a lot of stormtroopers. It was pretty cool to see. And just knowing that it's like people from the 501st, they're Star Wars fans, actually in a Star Wars TV show. That's got to be so cool. So cool. You know what I mean? So cool. I mean, just badass. And they do other stuff too. They do parades and they do charity work, like visit kids in the hospitals and what have you. That's just awesome stuff. And they're pretty cool guys. At least some of the ones I met last time I was at Celebration in Orlando back in 2017. So, I don't know. Anyway, more about the show. Okay, here we go. We start off on the Razor Crest. Mando receives a new message from Greef Karga. He's saying that he's still alive and his town has been overrun by the client's increased stormtrooper ranks, hurting Gil business, and he offers a deal to pay Mando to kill the client, free the town, and get rid of the bounty that's on the child. He would clear his name with the guild, and thinking about it for a few minutes, knowing it could be likely a trap, but he pretty much has no choice. Now, Mando decides to take the deal, but before going back, he goes to Sorgan to recruit Cara Dune for help. And we find her at the bar back from Chapter 4 in a fight with a Zebok, the same species as Darth Maul. Now, they are tethered together by some laser chain type thing and what have you. They go back and forth and stuff like that. Now, it goes on for a few minutes and stuff like that. Cara Dune finally does end up winning the match, and the guy taps out. He gets rid of the connection and what have you, and she ends up winning. And then as soon as she's done, she turns around and looks, and Mando is standing there saying, "You look for a job?" And then we find them sitting at a table and they're discussing the situation. And Mando tells her exactly what the deal is. And then she says that, well, I was kind of told to lay low. If I even book my name on passage on a ship into the New Republic, I can find myself in a lot of trouble. And he's like, don't worry about that. I've got a ship that, I can fly you in and back and you can make a lot of money and you can live an easy life. She's like, I already live an easy life and what have you. And he says, well, and she goes, plus I don't feel like, getting involved in fighting a warlord anyway. And he's like, he's not a warlord. He's Imperial. And with a look in her eye, she's like, I'm in. And then we cut to the Razor Crest and they're in the cockpit and she's like wondering whether or not if the contact knows she's coming. He says no. She's like, well, that could be a problem. He goes, no, it won't be a problem. And if it is a problem, it'll be his problem. And then as he sets the autopilot to Navarro, they go down to the cargo hold and what have you, to his gun collection. He says, go ahead and pick one. As she's like picking through the weapons, they are discussing more about the mission ahead and what have you. And the next thing you know, the Razor Crest starts flying really crazy and what have you. And then when we finally get back into the cockpit, we find Baby Yoda on the joystick for the Razor Crest sitting there jerking around like he's playing asteroids on Atari and what have you. But Mando gets a hold of the kid, hands him off to Cara Dune, and then he finally gets the ship back under control. Cara Dune mentions something along the lines that we need to find somebody to watch over that thing. Mando agrees. She says, do you have anybody you can trust? And then we find ourselves going back to Arbella 7, where he lands next to Kuill's homestead, and Kuill is out there to greet him. They go inside his house or tent or whatever you want to call it, and they're sitting there, they're talking about Baby Yoda. Kuill says something along the lines that he hasn't really gotten much bigger. And Mandalorian says, I think he's a strand cast. And then Kuill says, I don't think so because he's not growing fast enough and he's ugly. So I don't know if that's confirmation that he's not a clone. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. So I don't know. And as they're sitting there discussing Baby Yoda, IG-11 comes walking in with drinks, a tray of drinks and what have you, and Mandalorian and Cara Dune jump up, drawing their blasters. Kuill tells them to put their blasters away. He's good now. And Mandalorian says, no, he's programmed to kill the kid. And Kuill says, not anymore. Then he launches into his story from where he went to the compound to where we find Baby Yoda in chapter 1, and we see a bunch of smoking bodies, and he says he finds IG-11 void of life, and he claims him as salvage or whatever, something in the accordance of the New Republic, and he takes him back to his homestead where he repairs him and reprograms him, and he's shown him how to walk, how to carry things, and what have you, kind of like basically nursing him back to health. And then Mandalorian basically ends up asking Kuill to help him watch over the kid, and Kuill says, I am not qualified to do that, but I can program IG-11 to do that, and initially, the Mandalorian says no, but Kuill says, you have a real problem with droids. And he's like, that he was programmed for the kid. He goes, not anymore. The robots or droids are not evil. They do what they're pretty much programmed to do. And he goes, and I will help you, because we find out earlier that he actually was on the Empire side during the Civil War, but it wasn't like he volunteered. He was kind of like forced to, but still, we see on Cara Dune's face that she's not happy to hear this news. But he agrees to go, saying, I will help because we want to make sure that the kid doesn't have to be slavery underneath the Empire. There's the only way to make sure that the old way is gone is to get rid of people like the client. So he ends up going. So then we have Cara Dune, Kuill, IG-11, and the Blurgs all on their way to Navarro. While en route to Navarro, we've got Cara Dune and Mandalorian passing the time by having an arm wrestling match. Now, Baby Yoda does not seem to understand what's going on as he's watching. He seems like that Cara Dune is a threat, because he reaches out with the Force and he starts to choke Cara Dune, who stops arm wrestling, of course, and grabs her throat. Mandalorian realizes what's going on, and he turns and he grabs Baby Yoda, and he's like, and he breaks his concentration. And he's like, no, she's a friend. She's a friend. Now Quill's like, that is very interesting. And Cara Dune is like, interesting. He's like, well, I've heard of. He goes, I don't know what it is, but I've heard about things like this. He was like, back when you were with the Empire. He goes, yeah, back when I was like in slavery for the Empire. And she goes, and somehow you walked away. He goes, I worked with my hands to get out of that. So, and then it seems like Mandalorian is trying to change the subject, because he's like, hey, I wonder if you could help me. Can you pad this container for the child so he could sleep more comfortable. He goes, you know what? I will make a better one. And he kind of like makes like something that's almost just like what he had in episode 1 and 2 and 3, like that little egg thing, whatever. It kind of basically looks like the same thing. And we cut to the cockpit. We have Cara Dune and Mando talking about the mission, and they're talking about IG-11 and we see more of the Mandalorian's anger and hatred towards droids, even though he doesn't really, Cara Dune calls him out on it, but he doesn't really say any more thing about it. He says he has more of a problem with IG-11, which is, for the most part, true. Now, when we arrive on Navarro, we see Karga and 3 bounty hunters waiting in a remote meeting area. Now, as the Mandalorian, Kuill, and Dune exit the crest on top of the blurgs, what have you, Karga says that see that everybody brings a security detail. He's like, introductions are in order, what have you, and he notices the tattoo on Cara Dune's arm. He says, she might want to stay back at the ship because then he gave some kind of thing about Jawas and what have you, but the Mandalorian insists that she's going, what have you. And then Karga says, well, nightfall comes quick here on Navarro, so we can walk for a little bit, and then we can break camp over by the river and then go into town at first light. And then we see them walking along, and the next thing you know, we're sitting around a campfire with dinner cooking on a spick and being cooking and what have you. Everybody's sitting there talking. They're talking more about the mission. Mandalorian presses Karga for more information, which Karga seems to be more reluctant to give him any more in the specifics. And as he gets up, he goes to cut a piece of meat off of dinner over the fire. And out of nowhere, this flying creature flies down, attacks Karga, and everybody jumps up to their feet with their starts firing their blasters. Now we have several flying creatures, and I believe in the online in the descriptions they said they were Minox and what have you, and they were pretty damn good effects, I have to say. And as they were flying around, and everybody's like, they end up taking out a couple of them, but when it was all said and done, we are down 2 blurgs, 1 bounty hunter are dead, and Karga is badly injured and poisoned. Now Cara Dune tries to help him with the med pack and what have you, and it does not seem to be working. And as everybody's frantically trying to help out Karga, and he's like kind of like screaming in pain, Baby Yoda walks up and puts his hand down on Karga's arm, and Karga's like, says like, what he's doing, and Kuill says, let it happen. And we see that Baby Yoda again reaches out with the Force, but this time he heals the arm and makes it all brand new, like it was like it never even happened. And again, everybody is sitting here as witnesses, but nobody says like, anything about the Force. They just like, it almost seems like nobody's ever heard of this stuff. I don't know. It was just kind of weird to see where like we're watching like a Star Wars show and nobody's actually mentioned the Force. Like they kind of seem to know what it is, but they don't know what it is. I think it's kind of weird. Now the next day, as they near towards town, Karga is in the lead, and as he walks a little bit faster and gets a little bit more ahead of everybody. And the next thing you know, he whips around and he shoots the other 2 bounty hunters. He turns and he says to Mando, he says, the plan was to kill you and take the child to the client. But after last night, I couldn't go through with it. And so they make up a new plan. Like the Kuill was going to take the child back to the crest, and then Karga and Dune would pretend that they captured the Mandalorian and take him into town and confront the client that way. Now, as they walk closer up to town, we see that the number of stormtroopers that they were told was a lot more than what they thought. And we have a pair of biker scouts sitting at the beginning of town, and they insist on seeing like the code key and what have you. Karga produces it, and they end up walking to the bar where Karga used to hold his meetings and what have you for the guild, and we see the client actually sitting at his table, which is, I guess, kind of like a slap in the face by him sitting in his throne, maybe, and what have you. And as he sits there, they're talking. He's like, they have like the new thing that Kuill made, but it's like closed. And like, well, he's like, can I see the child? He's like, oh, he's sleeping. He's like, well, he can't keep sleeping, and what have you. But then we see this stormtrooper leans over and he whispers something into the client's ear, and he's like, if you excuse me, I must take this call. And he walks over to the bar where there's a small HoloNet type connection, like type thing. and a hologram appears above it is Moff Gideon. Now, I mean, I've been waiting to see this guy, and he asks, where is the child? And he must not have liked or believed the answer he got, because the next thing we know, the whole bar is being poured. We got laser bolts pouring everywhere. And when it's all said and done, all the stormtroopers, including it appears to be the client, are all dead. And in the meantime, Mandalorian is trying to, while being pinned down, is trying to get a hold of Kuill and what have you, like get a hold on the crest and get out of here. And as he's doing so, the biker scouts outside intercept the transmission and head out towards Kuill and the child. Then we cut back into town. We cut to Kuill and we see him on his Borg, and he's riding as fast as he can. We see the crest within sight. The actual landing ramp goes down, and the biker scouts are behind him, and they kick in the afterburners, and they seem like they try to catch up, the speed up even more, because they can see the ship and they can see Kuill. And then we cut back to town, and we see death troopers standing outside the bar and what have you. And then we finally start hearing a TIE fighter, and it comes, and then we see this TIE fighter come flying down, and something we've never seen before. This TIE fighter's wings fold in half and landing gear comes down. Now, I don't know whether or not they can actually ever do that. I've never read about that. I've never seen that. But this could be something new, because this is supposed to be after Return of the Jedi. So this could be just another variation of a TIE fighter. So I wonder if this one's got shields. We'll have to wait and see how that one plays. I'm sure the channel Space Doc might have something on that. I'll have to look into that. But anyway, he lands in the middle of town, and we find that it's Moff Gideon, who is the pilot of this TIE fighter. He climbs out, and he demands for the child and what have you. And then the Mandalorian is sitting there trying to contact Kuill, but he's not answering. And when we cut back over to where Kuill and the child are at, we see the child laying on the ground. One of the biker scouts rides up, snatches up Baby Yoda, turns around, heads back into town. And then we cut over to, and we see Kuill and his blurg lying face first in the dirt. Now, they appear to be dead. I'm kind of hoping not, but it looks like they might be. Now, they might have just, like, stormtroopers don't have the world's best aim. They just might have, hit, might have been an explosion close to enough to, knock them over and knock them out. So that could be possibly happening, because the episode pretty much stops at this point. So this is like a cliffhanger. I mean, when that stopped, I was like, whoa, oh my God. I mean, so I don't know, man. That was just crazy. Just crazy. Well, I don't know, man. Now, this was the second chapter that Deborah Chow got to direct. Now, she did chapter 3, and so far everybody's pretty much liked her last two episodes. I mean, I think they're like my two top faves so far, unless Taika Waititi, who's coming in to do chapter 8 next week, does a better job than she does, but he's only going to have 1 out of 2. So right now, she's, as far as I'm concerned, she's knocked this out of the park. Now, if I had to rank the 7 episodes that we've gotten so far, that seems like that everybody's doing. But if I had to do that, I would say my order is 7, 3, 6, 4, 2, 1, 5. Sorry, Dave. And I'm kind of curious to hear more about that Strand cast. I hope we learn more about that. The troop transport that was in towards the end there, and what have you, and all the stormtroopers poured out from the 501st. That was pretty damn cool. Now, I guess it made an appearance in Rogue One also. I kind of remember that. And they were, somebody on another channel the other day mentioned it was a toy back in the 80s and what have you, and I had that toy. So I had a lot of Star Wars toys. A lot of them got buried or lost their heads and type thing. But now Deborah Chow is going to be the showrunner and the director for the Obi-Wan series that we're going to get on Disney Plus next year, or at least they're supposed to start filming next year. So I can't wait to see that. So far, she's been the best one out of all of them. So far, she's knocked this out of the park. I'm just totally awesome. I can't say it enough. So I don't know. And then, in the beginning, before Baby Yoda took control over the Razor Crest, we see as they're sitting there talking, he kind of pops his head down, looks around, and you kind of had to know that once that happened, something bad was going to happen. I didn't really think he was going to start trying to fly the ship, to be quite honest with you, but that was kind of funny. I thought when it first started going crazy, he was just up there sitting there pressing buttons. I didn't realize they were going to catch him up there with the pilot yoke and stuff like that. That was pretty damn funny. I was laughing pretty good every time I watched it, and I've watched this episode at least several times, and I thought that was hilarious, just hilarious. So I don't know. What did you think? Did you think it was pretty funny to see Baby Yoda trying to fly the crest? What did you think about this episode overall? What did you think of Moff Gideon? I think personally, like the guy with the boots at the end of chapter 5, I think that's Moff Gideon. I don't think that's Boba Fett. I mean, it can be, and it would be cool if it is, but I personally think that right there is Moff Gideon. I don't know why they had to introduce him that way, kind of, so I'm not really sure. But that's just my theory. I think I heard somebody else say it, but I'm leaning more towards that's Moff Gideon than being Boba Fett. But that's just me. So, I don't know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Again, my overall thoughts, I love this episode. This was like the best one so far. The best one so far. What did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Please like and subscribe and click on that bell so you'll be notified every time we drop another video. See you next time, people. Peace.